You know how we do with the WhatsApp and all that, the messages, whatever.
Oh.
All right. True peace, true mental cosmic peace in war times to the elite, innocent and elect kins and friends of the Ethiopian African race. This is a special topic that we wanted to touch on. And tonight, the kin will be adding on to the puzzle that a lot of those we've been witnessing over the years are still confused about the Caucasian and his origin. Some people say that the Caucasian came.
We're doing the meltdown first, Ken.
Oh, you want to do the meltdown first?
Yeah, we're doing the meltdown first. The Caucasian joint, we're gonna do tomorrow. We're gonna do that tomorrow. That's a
my bad.
That one gonna be nice and sweet for tomorrow.
Okay, my bad. I apologize for that. I was so gung ho for that right there. Like, if you've seen the little thing that I did, all right, my bad, people. I apologize. All right, so we're gonna do the meltdown thing. So go ahead, Ken, do your little introduction on that and take it away and lay the premise for those people who have not ever heard the term meltdown and the phrase and what it means and why it's important. So take it away, Ken.
Yeah, this is not gonna be too long. Hopefully, it probably be maybe 15, 20 minutes, if that long. This particular. Oh, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is A-Noot, Noopooh, and sorry, not A-Noot, Noopooh. I apologize. A-Noot, Boonoo, Noopooh, and that basically represents the bone marrow in the Ethiopian race. I hear echo, Ken. I don't know if it's coming from your end.
Might be my end, but go ahead. What about now?
Oh, yeah, and I represent okay, it's good now. I represent the bone marrow of the Ethiopian race. And basically this video right here is going to be dealing with what does meltdown mean in Noon science. And I think in Noon science, the thing about it is that, you know, we may hear new terms that we've never heard before, but it's very important to know what those terms mean, because we can get confused about what they mean. And the reason why this topic of discussion was particularly brought up was because of an elder by the name of Earl Dakins or Dakins. He's from the Nuwaupian community or culture or whatever they want to call themselves. And I basically asked him, you know, what does meltdown mean? Because he's using these terms and they're taken from the nature books and they don't know why they're using these terms. And I knew for a fact that he didn't know what meltdown meant, especially what is meant in the nature books, you know. And let me just show you guys real quick our conversation. Real quick, I'm going to show you guys. Let me share the screen. All right. Do you see that screen, Ken, with the conversation between me and Earl starting with me 5 days ago? You see it?
Yeah. Can you make it a little bigger?
All right, let me see if I can make it bigger. Give me a second. Is it bigger now?
No, let me make my screen bigger and do it again.
Oh, it's already as big as it could be right now.
Cool, you good.
I'm good? I'm good? All right, cool. So, as you can see, this was about 5 days ago. You know, at the top, Earl was accusing me. This is like halfway down in the conversation. This is about a couple of comments in, but Earl told me about some book named The Proof, that York was answering these questions about brain newts and whatever the case may be. But we all know that's a lie, because York wasn't talking about no brain newts before. And this type of language that's coming from the Nuwaupians now, we know that they come from Afroo Oonoo and the nature books. So if we look at the conversation, I asked Earl, that's me, Noopooh. It says Earl Datkins, the book, the proof. What the hell book is that? And you still haven't answered the question. What does brain Noots melting down mean? Then he said, he started speaking about the holy tablets or whatever the case may be. And I want to just skip down to where he's talking about brain Noots. He says Noots melting mean Noot combining and coming together, unifying. Keep this in mind. You see this right here? Oh wait, this is not going to let me do it. But you see this right here? Look at my arrow. Noots melting means Noot combining or coming together, unifying. I want you guys to keep that in mind. Then he wants to jump to the whole language thing. Do y'all have a Nooniboo word for nebula? No, y'all don't. So y'all use a Caucasian word. They like to use, play the Caucasian card whenever they feel like, they get stuck. They want to say, oh, because you're using Caucasian words. No, we're using Caucasian words because that's the language that we're speaking right now. And the mentally dead are speaking the language of English, which has been bestowed upon for the Caucasian race at this point in time. But that doesn't mean that we can't explain truth within English. This is what they don't understand. Truth can be told in any language that you're speaking in. You could also be lied to in any language that you're speaking in. So we want to be able to show the truth while we're using the English language, and also show the connections between the sciences, the science in science, and the science of sciences. Sorry. So here we see Noots melt. He's saying that Noots melting means Noots combining or coming together or unifying. All right, I want to show another screenshot. Give me 1 second, folks. I'm going to show another screenshot real quick. See that screenshot, Ken? Where it starts, it says you're wrong about what melting down is. Let me know if you see that real quick. You see that, Ken?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. So it says, Earl Datkins, you're wrong about what melting down is. Stop repeating things you don't know. Then I says, yes, in universe science, a nebula is called a universe water ball, not a nebula. Then later on, he says, saying I'm wrong is one thing, proven by way of facts and not bias opinion is another. So here he's telling me proving by way of facts, and this is what I'm going to do tonight. Then he says melting down is absolutely unseen brain Noots coming together, combining, unifying to bring into existence matter. So again, you can say I'm wrong, but yet you absolutely cannot provide actual fact evidence to disprove it, which is wrong. I'm going to prove him wrong. And I says coming together does not mean melting down. Indeed, they do come together. That's easy. But what does melting down mean? Melting down does not mean to come together. Then I'm telling him, stop using terms you know nothing about. He says melting down is the best English term used to describe what happens when unseen brain Noots coming together. Heat and energy is the result. Now, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, heat and energy definitely plays a role in melting down, but we're going to see what melting down is. All right. So he says the term is self-explanatory, which is clearly not self-explanatory for him. So we're going to go to now what melting down is, because I don't want to hold y'all hostage for too long. about what melting down is. All right. So we're going to X out this page. All right. I'm still screen sharing, right? Give me 1 second. We're going to go to this page. All right. We're going to, you see the etymology of melt, kid? You see that? Huh? All right, cool. Etymology of melt. You see, means molten melt, coming from melt in reference, and the noun is coming from the verb. All right, that's why it says molten melt coming from the verb melt. That's where that V right here stands for, coming from the verb in reference to type of sandwich topped by melted cheese, American English. But this is where we're gonna get real down to the nitty gritty. Old English, melting, to become liquid, consume by fire, burn up. All right. So when they talk about consume by fire or burn up, we're talking about a temperature, which means that something has to go up in temperature in order for it to become liquid or to consume by fire or burn up, meaning that the temperature has to go up. Now we're going to go to the chemistry and physics definition. Change from a solid into a liquid when heat is applied. This is very important. When heat is applied. All right. That's the only part of this definition that we probably need. In a pure crystalline solid, this process occurs at a fixed temperature called the melting point. All right, we don't need to really read too much of that. Basically, what they're saying is that from going from a solid to a liquid, heat is applied, and this is what causes melting. Heat causes melting. All right. So the answer now to what melting down is, here we go. I'm gonna show you guys. All right. So when we talk about brain newts melting down, right? We're talking about brain newts are basically atoms. All right. Atoms are unseen brain newts. All right. But just that in nature science, we call atoms brain newts. Reason being is because the Caucasian had to take it away from what we already knew. We knew that atoms were intelligent things that come together to form molecules, elements, chemicals, all sorts of different things. These were intelligent brains that come together. All right. And one of the things that we need to understand is that these elements can do various things. You understand? And one of the things that they can do is that they can melt down. In nature science, the word melt down means to go from a high energy state to a lower energy state. And the lowest energy state is called the ground state. All right. So this is what it is. The ground state of an atom, atomic nucleus, atom or molecule, is its lowest energy state. Higher energy states are described as excited states. The ground state applies to any quantized property of a particle. In chemistry, electron ground states, vibrational ground states, rotational ground states of atoms and molecules are important as their excited states. At room temperature, most molecules are in electron and vibrational ground states. Higher temperatures are needed for molecules to enter excited states. However, most molecules are in an excited rotational state at room temperature because less energy is needed for a molecule to enter a rotational excited state than an electron or vibrational electric state. Vibrational excited state. So we see right now electron ground states. They're going to give you a diagram showing the electron going from one state to another state. All right. Here we go. Is the electron below. I'm sorry. There's diagrams below show the electron energy levels for a hydrogen atom. In the first diagram, hydrogen is in its electron ground state. All right. In the second diagram, hydrogen's electron is in a higher energy shell. Hydrogen is no longer in its electron ground state. It is in its excited state. Hold on for a second. We're gonna have to pause this real quick, Ken. If you want to talk real quick, I gotta do something real quick. All right, Ken.
All right. How long you need?
Give me about 5 minutes. I'll be right back. Let me end the screen sharing real quick.
Yeah, just mute it.
All right, I'm gonna mute it.
Let me see if I can
get back. I gotta move my car real quick. Hold on, out my driveway. Hold on. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Y'all, hold on.
What video was Earl going back and forth with you under the brand new, so I can go back over there?
The nut video, the one that the first one.
All right, got you.
All right. All right, let me mute the video. Give me a second. All right, I'm back now. You guys pause or something?
Oh, damn. Nobody can hear me. I was on mute. Damn, my bad. I was just talking. Didn't even know it. Damn. It's all good.
Oh, man. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I was just trying to, what I was calling myself explaining was that Noot, which is the goddess of what the ancients call the night sky, is visible as far as looking out into space, but Noots can't be seen, and that the Nuwaupians put themselves into a chokehold by declaring Noot and Noots as the same, And if you can see any part of Noot, which is the night sky, that's all there is up there. Then you know they caught in a pickle, and then they tried to switch it from York saying Noot was an actual person, and you can't be the whole night sky and then something as small in the body of a human being. So that was, and I was about to take them to what the definition of Noots, but you back now, so go ahead.
All right. So hold on. Let's go back. Let's go back to ground state. We about to get crunk. Give me 1 second. I'll be able to pull this back up. All right, pull that up. Screen share. All right, you can see that. We back to ground state. You see it? All right, cool. So now we back to what I was, explaining earlier about ground state. So ground state is basically in chemistry, because now last time we did a video was about cosmology. This video is about chemistry. You understand what I'm saying? So we can now understand why Noon would say it's the science of science and the science in science. Okay, so you guys could even check this out online as well. This particular website is chemicool.com. All right, and basically they explain what the ground state is, and the ground state is basically the lowest energy level that an atom can reach in whatever molecule it's in, whatever nucleus or whatever atom. This is its lowest state that these particular electrons can be. All right, so now let's go. When the heat is applied, let's see what happens to a particular atom. All right, so in quantum mechanics, an excited state of a system, such as an atom, molecule, nucleus, is any quantum state of the system that has a higher energy than the ground state. That is, more energy than the absolute minimum. Excitation is an elevation in energy level above an arbitrary baseline energy state. In physics, there is a specific technical definition for energy level, which is often associated with an atom being raised to an excited state. The temperature of a group of particles is indicative of the level of excitation, with the notable exception of systems that exhibit negative temperature. The lifetime of a system in an excited state is usually short, spontaneous, or induced emission of a quantum of energy, such as a photon or a phonon, usually occurs shortly after the system is promoted to excited state, returning the system to a state with lower energy, a less excited state or ground state. This return to a lower energy level is loosely described as decay and is inverse of excitation. This is what meltdown means. All right. When a brain newt melts down, this is what it means in nature science. It's loosely described as decay. All right. So when Earl was saying that, it means combining, it's actually the opposite. When something is decaying, it's breaking apart. You understand what I'm saying? But in this particular science, what they're telling you is that the electron gets to a high state of energy and then it comes back down. That's what meltdown means. Means the energy comes up and it goes back down. Now, we're gonna do another video later on about, you know, what is really taking place in our universe right now as far as Noopooh is concerned, and where's the clear scientific proof that Noopooh is occurring right this very instant, and when did it exactly start? This is what we need to know, and this is what we need to understand. All right, so I'm gonna, you know, I always want to give a little video on what this particular meltdown means, and I'm not gonna leave y'all dry. I gotta have somebody explain it to y'all outside of myself so that you guys can see exactly what melting down is. All right, give me a second. Let me end my screen share real quick. I'm gonna open up another screen. Give me a second. Earl, you in trouble, boy. You in trouble, you in trouble. Cause this here is gonna be problems, man.
Electrons. It's also really
wait. We're gonna have to screen share this. Give me 1 second. All right. What in the world's going on? Oh, here we go. Share. All right. You can see the full screen, kid?
Yeah.
Hi, and welcome to Lesson 7 here in our Electrons unit. In this lesson, we're going to talk about electron configurations of excited state and ground state atoms and how to tell the difference. Just to remind ourselves, let's remember our model of electromagnetic radiation production and how it works. It involves the atom starting at the ground state, absorbing energy, transitioning into the excited state, and then falling back down to the ground state with that electron emitting a particle.
You hear that? Falling back down, melting down. You understand what I'm saying? That means that they got up to an excited state, right? Because of temperature, and they fall back down, melt down. That's what meltdown is. But let's get a good example using with these videos of what melting down is.
Particle of electromagnetic radiation. Because that's the model that we use to describe how electromagnetic radiation is produced, it's important to understand that because the electron changes place, its electron configuration is also going to change place. If we consider what happens to electron configuration in the excited state, the electron configuration of that atom is going to have to change to reflect the fact that we are now in the excited state. We can recognize this when we see it by understanding that we'll see a violation of the normal ground state electron configuration when we look at the electron configuration of an atom in the excited state. It's also important to understand that there are many possible excited states that an atom could take. So just because you might not see the one that you're thinking of in this discussion, it doesn't mean that it's not a valid configuration. Let's try an example. So this is not in your packet. So here we have calcium, and what I want you to do is I want you to write down 3 possible excited state electron configurations for calcium.
And this is where you're wrong, Earl. This is where you're gonna get proven wrong that they combine. Meltdown does not mean to combine. It means to go from ground state. Sorry, it means to actually go from ground state to excited state back down to ground state again, meaning that it's giving off energy. It's basically coming down. It's not combining with another element, even though they can combine with other elements while they're melting down. But melting down does not mean to combine. And this is what this video is going to prove with facts and evidence.
Pause the video, take a moment and do it on your own, and then when you're ready, let's go through it together. So it's important to remember that the configuration that we're given on the periodic table is the ground state configuration. Calcium's basic ground state configuration is 2-8-8-2. So with that in mind, let's look at some possible excited state configurations. Here are 3 that I just came up with. 2-8-7-3, or the expanded version that you can see over on the right, 2-8-1-1, or 1-8-8-2-1. Notice a couple of things when I came up with these configurations. The first is that my atom has not gained or lost any electrons. That's incredibly important. If you look at each of these excited state configurations.
Did you hear that, Earl? The atom did not gain or lose electrons, which means that the atom itself does not change to a different element. When brain newts come together, they form different elements. When atoms come together with each other, they form different elements. It's very important, like he just stated, that when a meltdown occurs, or when this particular atom goes from ground state to excited state, it does not change the atom or the brain newt or whatever it is that you have going on here, okay? Keep that in mind. So Earl was absolutely wrong about it combining and unifying and proving that Nuwaupians are just stealing words and terms, and they don't know how to explain it, and they don't understand it. They're just using it to spellbind other people. But let's continue with the video.
You can see that there are still 20 total electrons. The second thing that you can see here is that each one of these is different than our ground state configuration. I've taken an electron from the kernel of the atom and boosted it up to a higher energy level without having totally filled that principal energy level, or I've expanded the atom's overall valence. Either way is totally fine. But again, it's really important to remember that we haven't added or removed any electrons. It's also really important to notice that we haven't put any additional electrons into energy levels that can't hold them. For instance, 1-9-8-2 is not a valid configuration because that second principal energy level cannot hold 9 total electrons. It can only hold 8. But as long as we adhere to these 2 rules, only putting electrons in energy levels that can hold them, and making sure that we don't add or remove any electrons, we can always write valid excited state configurations. A good test to see if a particular configuration is excited or ground state is to count up the total number of electrons in the configuration and compare it to the configuration for the atom on the periodic table that has the same atomic number as that total number of electrons. If it looks the same, it's in the ground state. If it doesn't, then we know that that atom's electron configuration is in the excited state. Another thing we should talk about here at the end is this notion of occupied versus full. When we talk about occupied, we mean at least 1 electron is in the particular location. When we talk about full, we mean the maximum total number of electrons that's allowable is in the location. In the case of carbon up here, we know that carbon has 1 totally full principal energy level, the first one, and it's got 2 occupied principal energy levels. Carbon has 2 totally full sublevels and 3 occupied sublevels. And carbon has 2 totally full orbitals and 4 occupied orbitals. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. If it doesn't, take a moment and write down any questions that you have before we wrap up. Thanks so much for watching this discussion of excited versus ground state electron configurations and how to tell the difference between them. Make sure that you can do the following things here at the end. Make sure you can determine if an electron configuration represents the excited state or the ground state of a particular atom. Also make sure that you can identify any valid or invalid electron configurations for particular atoms. If you can do those 2 things, you're doing great. If not, that's okay too. Take a moment and write down any questions that you have. You can always leave them for me in the discussion below the video, or you can always get in touch with me through the information in the info field. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right. So now we see what it means for a atom to be in a meltdown stage. All right. So we now this was a short video. This wasn't going to be a very long video. I wanted people to understand what meltdown meant in nature science. So every time you see meltdown in nature science, know that it's a particular atom that goes to that its temperature is raised and it goes into an excited state, right? This is why I'm going to show you guys something right real quick in the nature books, because at the end of each video I have to validate it with the nature books. The nature books have to be validated. So we're going to go to the nature books real quick. Give me 1 second. Let's go to the books. Go to books. The books tell the truth. You understand me? So give me 1 second. I gotta go to, let me see, I wrote down the pages. Okay, book 1. Let's go to book 1. Page 41. Number 40. All right. Let me know if you see the nature books, Ken. See the nature books? I'm pretty sure you guys probably see the nature books. So I'm gonna move forward. All right. So we're gonna go to nature book, page 41, number 40. Listen to reason. Brain newts melt down when activated by the laws of nature and suitable conditions in nature for such meltdown. Now, when he says, I'm gonna just break down this first sentence. Brain newts melt down, right, when activated by the laws of nature and suitable conditions. We're talking about temperature. Temperature has to be available in order for meltdown to occur. If the temperature does not raise, a meltdown can't occur. All right. So this is what this is explaining. It's a language, but it's a universe language that we have to understand, that our ancestors understood that these were living things, not just some science that, you know, you can go to college and just learn about it and that be it. No, this was life. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why this type of language needs to be had, brain newts and things like that. All right. So let's continue reading. Of course, brain newts are the newts in matter that produce brains and creative energy. Although unseen brain newts can be classified as matter magic or magic matter because they melt down and become visible brain in the essence of other high quality matter. Matter that is next to brain newts in quality. But even then, one still cannot see brain newts. But physical brain is an attribute of them in the world of physical matter. Matter and vacuums, which is space, are opposites in nature science. For matter is somethingness, the negative as far as vacuum is concerned, and vacuum is nothingness, the positive as far as matter and perfection are concerned. Brain newts are the God, the demiurge in matter. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. All right. So we must understand in this particular paragraph before that when these brain newts melt down, they have creative energy. How about we go find out what happens when an electron melts down and comes back down. We're going to go right back to the video that we were talking about in about the Noot. I'm going to show you how all of this connects. Give me 1 second, folks. We're going to go back to the video real quick about Noots. This is exciting to me. I like this type of stuff.
They started blasting out a...
Hold We're gonna rewind it a little bit.
Fusing hydrogen into helium, they started blasting out a mind-numbing amount.
Let's rewind it.
This year, this.
Hold on for a second, folks. Give me 1 second. We're gonna share this real quick.
Star forming factory. She is the producer of stars, which is the nebula. But let's continue the video. The entire nebula is lit by 4 stars located in its heart, collectively called the trapezium. These are 4 brutes, huge, brilliant stars that are each far more massive than the sun. Their light is so fierce, it illuminates the entire nebula, which is about 20 light years across. And here's a funny thing about Orion. What you're seeing is not just a gas cloud in space. It's actually just a bubble sitting on the edge of a much, much larger molecular cloud, hundreds of light years across. That cloud is cold and dark, and so we don't see it by eye. The trapezium stars formed inside that cloud, very near the edge. When they turned on, fusing hydrogen into helium, they started blasting out a mind-numbing amount of ultraviolet light, which began eating away at the gas and dust. Eventually, they blew a hole in the side of the cloud, like a weak spot in a bicycle tire blowing out. What we see as the magnificent Orion Nebula is just a dimple, a cavity in the side of the cloud, filled with gas, heated to glowing by the stars. There are still stars forming there today, too. I mean, literally, right now. We can see it happening. In episode 9, I talked about the solar system and how it starts off as a flattened disk of gas and dust. When we look at the Orion Nebula with Hubble, we see those disks. They're called protoplanetary disks, and they're so dense that they absorb almost all the light from the stars forming inside them. So they're dark, and we see them in silhouette against the brighter gas of the nebula, unless you look in the infrared. That kind of light can pierce the dark disk, and when we use infrared telescopes, we can see the protostars forming in the centers of those disks. Take a good look. Those are baby stars. Literally stars that are forming right this very minute. They're still hot due to their contraction, but in a few million years, they'll ignite fusion in their cores and become real stars. They'll blow away the remaining material around them, revealing themselves, and perhaps any planets orbiting them as well. In fact, once stars start forming inside a nebula, its days are numbered. The Eagle Nebula is another star factory, with active starbirth going on inside of it. Some of these are massive luminous stars and give out so much ultraviolet light, it erodes away at the surrounding nebula in a process called photoevaporation. However, dense knots of material forming new stars can resist that erosion better and protect the material behind them, in essence shadowing it. This results in long fingers of material we see in silhouette against the hotter gas, like sandbars in a stream. Observing their infrared light, we can also see the stars embedded inside them. There are several of these giant towers in the Eagle Nebula, 3 of which have been called the Pillars of...
Hold on. I want you guys to see that particular
stars embedded inside them.
That particular definition. Observing the infrared light, we can also see stars embedded inside them. When we look at Noot hovering over Geb and the other gods, what do we see embedded inside of Noot? We see stars embedded inside of her. You see, our ancient ancestors knew of these things prior to what they're teaching today. They are now learning these things. But let's keep it moving. I just want you guys to be familiar with certain terms and words and things that they're using and not be confused. Our ancient ancestors knew exactly what the universe looked like, what the nebula looked like, what were they doing to form and how they were creating stars and things of that nature. This is why they call Noot the cow goddess. They call it a cow goddess because we live in the Milky Way. But we're gonna keep it moving.
There are several of these giant towers in the Eagle Nebula, 3 of which have been called the Pillars of Creation. Stars are forming at their tips. Eventually, though, the light from the massive stars will win, zapping away at the structures, dissolving them. There's also some very hot gas in the nebula that might be the result of a star that has already exploded. If so, then the pillars really don't have long to live. In a few thousand years, they won't be eroded away. They'll be blasted away. In a lot of nebulae, there's no sharp edge. They just kind of fade away. Sometimes that's because the gas thins out, so there's not enough stuff there to get lit and seen. Other times it's because there's just one or maybe a few stars lighting up the whole cloud, and at some distance from them, the starlight fades and can't illuminate the gas anymore. But sometimes nebulae do have sharp edges. That usually happens when a gas cloud is expanding, like in a planetary nebula or supernova. The gas slams into the much thinner gas that is strewn between the stars, what we call the interstellar medium. The expanding gas piles up like snow in a snowplow, getting denser and glowing more brightly. Gas inside a nebula can be in turmoil, too. Winds from stars compress the gas. Shockwaves form when stars explode and when they're born. These can create lovely sheets, tendrils, and filaments in nebulae as well. All of these factors can come together to create great beauty. Not too far from the Orion Nebula in the sky is another.
I'm gonna have to stop that for a second because I think I passed the part in which she spoke about the electrons going up to an excited state and coming down and basically emitting light. That's what they do. They give off photons when they come down. All right. Now, give me 1 second. I got another clip about. Actually, we can go back to the definition of and we could see right here the lifetime of a system in an excited state is usually short, spontaneous, and induced emission of a quantum of energy, such as a photon or phonon. So what this means is that a photon is basically a unit of light. All right. So when an electron goes up to an excited state and it comes down, it gives off photons, and photons is usually a unit of light. And the electron doesn't create photons. Photons already exist. Actually, photons come from space. This is something that they don't tell us in conventional science, that photons actually come from space. And what happens is the only way that a photon can be released is when it comes up to an excited state, and then that particular electron gets up there, and then when it comes back down through a meltdown process, that's when the light is emitted. All right. So only time that photons or light is emitted is when that particular brain newt releases that. That's why the brain newts are called the demiurge, because light cannot be emitted unless these brain newts get excited by temperature. And this is very, very important for those that are studying noon science. You know, you're getting physics, you're getting chemistry, you're getting cosmology, you're getting all these different sciences that are being broken down within the nature science. All right. So I wish I had a video of electrons given. Let me see if I can find one real quick for you guys. But what you think about the video so far, Tanu, while I look for this video?
I mean, it's definitely, it's gonna make Earl bust a couple of vessels. And I know he's gonna catch super arthritis in his hands, because you know he gonna type all night, because he's such a cyber stalker. So you know he gonna really be upset. And I'm setting up something now on the end before we get out of here. It's something that's really gonna be. I'm gonna just expose something, because they swear that he knows all things. And we know this to be an all lie. All right, that's what it is. It's definitely scientific, like you said, that they don't get that when Afroo Oonoo wrote that noon is the science of science and the science. And science, that means every conceivable science on the planet. Noon is not only you'll find noon in it, it's also the science of all the sciences when you combine it as well. So that means, so what you're doing now, like you said, you're taking it from cosmology to a chemistry thing. And then, you know, so they need to understand that Nuwaupians are nowhere near scientists even though they throw that word around, they really are religious. And instead of just coming to terms of their religiousness and trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to go from that state of religion to a state of scientific mental methodology. They would rather pretend that they've been scientists pretending to be religionists for over 30 years, which is deception, and that shows you these are hallmark signs of liars. Because anybody has to go through 30-some years to lie to a group of people that's been lied to from day one is a serious mental illness. And they definitely need to be examined because of the foolishness. But keep dumping, because I got something I'm going to slap them in the face with right at the end of this whole thing as well.
All right, cool. All right, so I found a video real quick. This is an excellent video, by the way. It's going to explain the electron. And like I was telling you before, photons aren't created by the brain newts. They're actually taken from space and emitted as light. That's why they call it absorption. They call it atom absorption. When the electrons go up, they absorb the energy of the photon and then they release it back. This is amazing to know what these brain newts can do. You understand what I'm saying? And that particular photon in Noon science is basically what we would be calling reason. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I got another part of the nature books that can validate what I'm saying as far as these photons representing reason. All right, so they're just a form of reason. Don't quote me and say, oh, photon, A-Noot said photons is reason by itself. No, there are different type of subatomic particles that represent reason and different kinds of reason. All right, Afroo Oonoo been told us that, in the books, and Sound Right Reason been let us know through him that there are different types of reasons. Photons is just one form of reason. You got phonons, you got all different types of reasons. You understand what I'm saying? But that's for a different date and a different topic. But I just want y'all to understand how this melting down process occurs. So let's go to the video real quick.
There's no real way to see what's going on inside an atom like neon when it absorbs or gives off light. But there are a few different models that tell the story. The easiest model ignores the atom altogether and just looks at the energy of its electrons. Electrons in an atom can only exist at certain energy levels. A photon of green light has exactly the same amount of energy as the energy levels in neon. So when a green photon hits an electron at the lower energy level, the electron absorbs the photon and instantly has the energy of a higher level.
Heard that? Absorbs the photon, meaning that the photon already exists. It just doesn't have the light.
After a fraction of a second, the electron jumps down to a lower energy level, giving off the
melt down. Look, hold on, wait. Y'all gotta hear that. This is amazing stuff Afroo Oonoo was teaching. Hold on.
Jumps down to a lower energy level, giving off the energy difference as a photon of orange light.
Did she say melt down? Because you gotta take it back.
Jump down. She says jump down. She don't say melt down.
Okay, she said jump down. Cool.
Yeah.
The models that try to show the atom aren't very accurate. The 100-year-old Bohr model is easy to draw. The energy difference, giving off the energy jumps down to a lower energy level, fraction of a second, higher level. After a fraction of a second, the electron jumps down to a lower energy level, giving off the energy difference as a photon of orange light. The models that try to show the atom aren't very accurate. The 100-year-old Bohr model is easy to draw, but electrons aren't really particles in rings around the nucleus. Each electron exists as waves. They're in a bunch of places at the same time, and they overlap. So the electron density model is our most realistic image of what an atom looks like. It's just harder to draw on a blackboard.
All right. So right there we see that photons definitely exist outside of an atom. It just takes from that particular atom to absorb the photon and then release it back as light. So reason and brain newts work hand in hand, like the nature books say, and brain newts create reason, meaning that it's able to take from it and give it back. You understand what I'm saying? It's a creative force. It's taking from something and giving it back as light. So that's what the nature science is basically trying to explain to us and let us know, you know, what's taking place. We could go back to the nature books real quick. And we can see what the nature books were talking about. Back to number 40, letting us know that that listen to reason, brain newts melt down when activated by the laws of nature and suitable conditions in nature for such meltdown. Of course, brain newts are the newts in matter that produce brains and creative energy. Although unseen, brain newts can be classified as matter magic or magic matter because they melt down and become visible brain in the essence of other high quality matter. Matter that exists is next to brain newts in quality. But even then, one still cannot see brain newts but physical brain is an attribute of them in the world of physical matter. Matter and vacuum matter and vacuum, which is space, are opposites in nature science. For matter is somethingness, the negative as far as vacuum is concerned, and vacuum is nothingness. The positive as far as matter and perfection are concerned. Brain newts are the God, which are the demiurge, and matter, let it be remembered always and let it be known. All right. So we also got page 48 that also speaks about about these page 47. All right, so number 49, listen to reason. Brain is an attribute, a reproduction factory, meltdown point. All right, so we can see that this particular meltdown point, which occurs in the atom, you understand what I'm saying? That the atom takes the photons and re-emits them as light. All right, so let's continue reading. Brain is an attribute, a reproduction factory, a meltdown point, and emanation base for brain newts. There are three main matter magic or matter vacuum powers. Magic magnetic creative forces in nature, and the first and foremost are brain newts, explained in this topic of these writings. The second is reason, identified further ahead in this part, and the third is spirit beings, also defined in this part of this book. These three creative forces of nature have the power and ability to cause creation unison or perfection unison. This is what Earl was talking about, the unison part. But that doesn't happen in the meltdown. That happens when these particular forces come together and cause it to happen. You understand what I'm saying? Not the meltdown. All right? And perfection unison in and between eternal matter and eternal vacuum. And this unison is known as magic and supernatural power as they are called in the world of mythology and religion or theology. So what they were calling mythology, religion, and theology was actually something that was occurring in brain newts or atoms. You understand what I'm saying? So this was something that was known to us in ancient times, but now it's being remembered or basically brought back to us through Afroo Oonoo. As already explained, brain newts are the prime mover in matter because they are the magic particles who make the first move towards putting themselves and other matter into creation order as they melt down and produce brain. So brain newts and brain are synonymous from the creation standpoint for the physical and visible brain that a person sees or can see when exposed is the mental base that brain newts create from other high quality matter for their reproduction, meltdown, and emanation. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. All right, let's see. Listen to reason. In other words, invisible and magic brain newts are the spirit created by way of invisible reason. Invisible brain is the physical created by the way of brain newts and reason for all natural growth creations. It is true that brain is indeed the generating battery bulb who is supplied with a flow of brain newts from the circulating blood in the body. And the invisible brain newts are the natural electricity in the brain, the bulb, as brain newts melt down for thought and creativity. Reason is the natural ether and concentrated mind that brain produces in the blood via its heart and lungs. And the mind energy reason creates all persons, places, and things by help when needed of spirit beings who themselves are various degrees and forms of the concentrated mind known as the ethereal energy reason, who is the offspring of brain newts matter. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. Let me see. Oh, this paragraph actually is powerful. The next one. Listen to reason. It is true that we can see brain and we cannot see brain newts, but we can see with brain newts via the eyes, light, and also brain, physically and mentally. We all do see with brain newts, and they cause all matter to be relative throughout infinite nature, because they are in all infinite matter throughout infinite existence. And as stated already by this writer, brain newts are the same throughout all matter. But the facts that he did not already state are: brain newts include male and female factors that determine the gender or sex of their creator and creation, which is the same as saying their growth or growth production. Also, the shine, glow, or light from fire, or light from fire, electricity, natural ether, like sunshine, etc., is the reflection from the gases or spirit produced by activated brain newts. And it is a fact that this is why light shines and bends around the corner, since there are no problem for gases to go and bend around objects. Of course, fire, electricity, sunshine, and life are forms of ether, negative or positive, originated by active brain newts. The gases of light penetrate the pores of space, which is vacuum, and the gases called light move so fast, approximately 186,300 miles per second, because they are attracted by the suction power of the pores of vacuum. Let it remembered always and let it be known. All right. So we can see that brain newts cause these particular lights to come on. Electricity, they cause sunshine, they cause all these different factors to take place. All right. So we can go on and on. As a matter of fact, we could go to page 52 real quick. I think I had another part in there, number 55. Listen to reason. The proof of this writer offers for the brain, same as saying brain newts control tests, can be, oh, wait. Yeah. Let's get to that paragraph. Listen to reason, the proof this writer offers for the brain, same as saying brain news control tests cannot be done without the experiment being, without the experimenter being charged with murder. So the reader will just have to think it out by reason as the writer did. If a bullet goes through the center of the unconscious brain of a so-called brain dead person, all life activity will cease immediately and permanently. This is the ultimate proof that the writer offers in defense of an individual's brain superiority and full control of all functions and activities of its organism, unless interfered with by injury, disease, old age, or spirit beings, or any combination of these agents. And all this means that the brain of an organism is its personal physical God, and the mind that the brain roots of the brain melt down into is the being's ethereal mental God, together with the spirit being or spirit beings who is incarnate in the person or thing. Nevertheless, at this junction, the writer wishes to make this point of fact. So long as a being's heart and lungs do continue to function, because the being's autonomic nervous system control the brain is still working, that person or thing will continue to live. Also, the brain roots in the circulating blood continue to melt down in the lungs into natural electricity, which is life. Let it remember it always and let it be known. All right. So can human beings emit photons? We know that brain roots can emit photons, but can your brain emit photons? That's a good question, right? We should be able to answer that question, because if our brains are a physical representation of this, then we should be able to see all right, let's screen share this real quick. As the nature book said and shows, give me 1 second, this thing is, my mouse is acting funny. All right, here we go. There we go. Wait, not this. Here we go. This particular article right here, strange glow, human glow from visible light. They're showing you that light, if you look at this particular picture down here, letter I, that this particular light is around the heart, the brain, and the chest and the neck area. This area right here is showing visible light of photons, photon emissions intensity. You see this? So a human being does give off the same light, like Afroo Oonoo was saying. Long as your heart and the lungs are pumping that, and burning that electricity, is giving off light. All right. I mean, you guys can read the article for yourself. Apparently, this is livescience.com. There's other websites that are that can show this particular article. So it's a short article, but it's basically confirming that we do emit light. All right, we do emit photons, which means that brain roots are melting down within us to create the light, because only brain roots can emit light. All right, so let's keep that under wraps. So that's my presentation for the evening. I hope you guys understood what melting down meant. Also, what causes meltdown. And of course, I'm gonna have something spectacular on the back end, just in case anybody wants to refute that. Also, we're gonna have solid proof that Noopooh is here in the upcoming videos after we finish up with the white man. Where did the white man come from? And a couple of other videos that need to be broken down. Tefnut, I believe, and Shoe. We got to break that down. I think Tanu said he got something to show after this, so that's my part of the presentation. So you can go ahead, Ken, and show your presentation.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I'm bring it up. I'm just trying to bring up a little something extra. All right, what are we gonna do first? You stop sharing your screen. Let me know if you can see mine.
Stop sharing it.
All right, I'm finna share mine. Hold on. Let me know if you can see this video.
Yeah.
All right. You just gotta mute it because if you make sounds, it's gonna.
Oh, my bad.
Hey crazies, I'm here to burst your bubble again. This picture of the atom is wrong. The real atom is far weirder than we ever could have imagined. So weird that we had to rule out everything else before we could accept it. And judging from the length of the video, you can see we're going to take our time with this. All right, we can't really understand where we are until we see where we've been. To the timeline. Debates about atoms have been going on since ancient Greece. Democritus first suggested that matter was made of tiny invisible bits. He called them atomos because he thought they were indivisible. This is why we call them atoms today. Of course, Aristotle thought it was a stupid idea. I still do. Why did I make you? Anyway, the debate raged on for over 2,000 years. Finally, the 20th century was fast approaching and we made some headway. Thomson discovered the electron in 1897 and proposed a simple model of the atom in 1904. Negative electrons floating in a positive mist. Rutherford proposed a better one in 1911 with an atomic nucleus, but he wouldn't discover the proton until 1919. Unfortunately, that nucleus couldn't be made of just protons. That wouldn't predict the masses on the periodic table. We had to wait until 1932 for the discovery of the neutron to explain it. Neutral particles are really hard to find. All right, what do we know so far? Negative electrons are on the outside, surrounding a positive nucleus. That nucleus is made of protons and neutrons. But by the time we knew about neutrons, we already knew electrons didn't orbit like this. This picture is wrong. So what does it really look like? Well, it looks like this. But that's probably not what you were hoping for. Isn't there like a visual model or something? Like this, but more accurate? Okay, I'll give it a shot, but prepare to have your mind blown. Things got really weird in the 1920s, so let's try to keep this as concrete as possible. You are all seeing me because light is emitted by your screens. We saw in a previous video that individual atoms can emit light too. It's called an emission spectrum, and it can tell us what kind of atom it is. Any model we come up with for the atom must explain that. Let's start with the most obvious question. How do atoms emit light? Energy levels. Say we have hydrogen gas in a closed glass tube. If we run a bunch of electricity through it, the electrons will absorb some of the electrical energy. When those same electrons fall back down, the energy gets emitted as light. There's a slight problem though. If that electron could jump to any energy, it could emit any color of light. But we know it only emits these 4 colors. 1 red, 1 blue-green, and 2 violets. The only conclusion? That electron can't have any energy at once. It can only have specific energies called energy levels. And jumps between those levels emit or absorb specific colors of light. We number these levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., all the way to infinity. The electron isn't allowed to be anywhere in between them, not even for a moment while it jumps. It must disappear from one and reappear on the other. I know, crazy, right? Anyway, back to hydrogen. The 4 jumps for hydrogen's visible spectrum are 3 to 2, 4 to 2, 5 to 2, and 6 to 2. Any other jump emits light that isn't visible. But why though? That's the question that takes us straight into madness. When a measurement can only have certain values, we say it's quantized. And the light emitted or absorbed during a jump between those levels is called a quantum. That's right, we're talking about quantum mechanics. We know that when things orbit by gravity, they can have any energy they'd like. Classical mechanics is the mechanism for how that works. Electrons don't seem to obey those rules though. So what we needed was a quantum mechanics, a mechanism for quantum particles. Back to the timeline. In 1924, a French physicist named Louis de Broglie proposed an idea. What if electrons had wave properties? The electron can only exist in certain energy levels because there must be a whole number of wavelengths present. They're not actually orbits at all. This was some serious out-of-the-box thinking, but it solved a couple problems. 1, why can electrons only be in certain energy levels? Cutting a wavelength up would be like cutting an electron up. Ridiculous. A jump from one level to another is just a gain or loss of whole electron wavelengths. 2, accelerating charges must emit light. Why don't electron orbits just collapse? An orbit is accelerated motion. Electrons should continuously lose energy to light and fall into the nucleus. But they don't. Why not? They're not actually orbiting. They're just waves. But if a wave like light can come in little packets like a particle, and little packets like electrons can look like waves, why stop at electrons? In 1926, an Austrian physicist named Erwin Schrödinger ran with that thought. If all particles are also waves, then we're going to need a wave equation to predict their behavior. Maxwell's equations gave us something like this for light, so that's the kind of thing we want for all particles. Using the total energy of a particle, what we call the Hamiltonian, we get something that looks like this, which is designed to help us figure out this, the wave function. An equation to contain all the wave properties of a particle. Another slight problem though. Even if we think of the electron itself as waving in space, a wave is still accelerated motion. It should still be continuously emitting light and collapsing into the nucleus. The only solution is that the electron isn't waving. Wait, didn't you just say that it was waving? Well, yes and no. Okay, I think it's time for another summary. The nucleus is made of protons and neutrons, and there is a cloud of electrons surrounding it. The behavior of all those particles is governed by wave functions. But if the particles themselves aren't doing the waving, what is waving? Later in 1926, a German physicist named Max Born butted into the conversation and suggested maybe, just maybe, it's a wave of probability. I know, it's nuts, but it fixes all the problems. I think Richard Feynman put it best when he said, the wave function for an electron in an atom does not describe a smeared out electron with a smooth charge density. The electron is either here, or there, or somewhere else. But wherever it is a point charge. Huh? All right, this is how it works. Even though a particle itself isn't a wave, its properties are. Where it is, what it's doing, how much energy it has. All these things are wave-shaped, but they're only waves of probability. Say the position of an electron looks like this. It's not smeared out across all space. It just doesn't have a definite position. It's most likely to be here, but also pretty likely to be here or here. And it's probably not going to be any of these places, but it could be almost anywhere. So what happens if I try to measure where it is, smarty pants? Then it'll only be one place. You just can't predict where that'll be. The act of measuring it changes what the wave looks like. It changes the wave from this to maybe this. But even then, it's not exactly definite. There's still a little wiggle room. That's what the uncertainty principle is all about. But the measurement doesn't destroy the wave. It just collapses it to a simpler shape. Luckily, some measurements can be made together. The energy, the magnitude of angular momentum, and at least part of its orientation can all be measured together. So those are allowed to be definite all at the same time. Again though, there's a little spread, a little wiggle room, which is what gives emission lines their thickness. But the definiteness of these measurements gives us a lot of information about electrons and atoms. Information we use to categorize them into shells and orbitals. Okay, final summary. The nucleus is made of protons and neutrons, and there is a cloud of electrons surrounding it. The behavior of all those particles is governed by wave functions. But those are waves of probability, so everything's at least a little bit vague. We're not sure exactly what anything is doing or exactly where it is, but we can make some great educated guesses. And that's enough to predict the entire periodic table. So, got any questions? Please ask in the comments. Thanks for liking and sharing this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to keep up with us. And until next time, remember, it's okay to be a little crazy.
All right. Let me stop my. All right, I'm gonna stop that for a second. All right, you there, Ken?
Mm-hmm.
All right. The funny thing about that, you know, people may watch this and be like, okay, what the hell does all this mean? What they're saying is that they don't know what the atom looks like. Correct?
Correct.
And we know that the brain Noots is behind that. And we know that the atoms function in the way that they function, but it's not even about how they're functioning. What I wanted to focus on is just the fact that they pointed out the different models that the atom went through. And according to the scientists up to date, because this here was like a 2013 video. So that's just 5 years ago. And even this 5 years ago, they're saying that they don't know what the atom looks like, and they don't know where the what I think was the electrons would be at, because it's all over the place. So what I wanted to do was bring this in, dealing with Mr. York, Mr. who knows all things. They claim he knows all things. All right. If you see this book, this was put out, I think, in the 90s, and it's called A Science of Creation. And they had another one a little older than this one, I think, back in the 70s when they was still in this long. And you can see it's called A Science of Creation. All right. So if you go, because I'm about to go back to the page. I'm gonna go back to the page. Just give me a second. All right. All right, you can see this page, right?
Yeah, I see the page looking like supposed to be an atom, right?
Right. So here he says, what are the etheric forces? The forces of degrees of the physical that are linked with the next plane. The plane of force are the etheric forces, which incidentally includes the fourth subplane of the physical matter, ultra gaseous matter. The remaining forces are life force, light, and mental. These are merely one subdivision of the 7 subdivision of the first material or physical plane. The etheric division of the physical plane is composed of the same elements as the lower division, but vibrates at a higher frequency. Therefore, when totally relating to the physical state, one is unable to detect them with the physical senses. Very few are aware, and even a smaller group are able to achieve access to the ethereal level of their senses in order to detect these planes. Each of these senses, like the planes or heavens, have subdegrees or detection. You can conclusively say that one can elevate his way of discovering the presence of senses in correspondence to each plane, as well as subplanes. If one could not, then one would not even be aware that he has elevated. And what York is saying, again, this is a contradiction, because now he's saying in here that the atom, because it's what you're supposed to be detecting, which we already proved that the atom, even the Caucasian knows the atom is undetectable. But you see the picture that York has. He has the same model that they had in the beginning of the video. The Caucasian said that that first model was wrong. You remember that?
Yep.
So why is York Pandabarb Yanoon using the form the Caucasians came up with years and years and years ago, only for them to come back and say this model is wrong? And if you kept going, then it showed you the model of the let me just bring it up a little closer so they can see it. The atom constantly vibrating is symbolic of the 7 planes. Number one, it can't be symbolic because you can't see it. Number one.
Don't know what it looked like.
Huh?
I said they don't know what it looked like.
Right. They don't know what it looked like. But here York talking about you can elevate to see it. But again, if the atom is part of subatomic, sub means bottom. How you gonna elevate to go up if it's down? And you can't even see it. So how would you know what to look? But this is the madness of what we were saying about them pretending to be scientists when they really religionists. And this just, again, what we're just trying to show. And I'm going to show you remember they showed you the other model with the circle. And then he said that the circle, within the circle atom was really waves. And then he came back and said something was wrong with that. So let me share this real quick. Hold on. Let me see, make sure I got it on me.
Stop digging your nose.
No, I don't see what you said. You sure you sent me those? Because I don't see them. The two pictures I told you to send.
You told me to send those to your WhatsApp. That's what I sent.
Oh no, send it to the Facebook real quick. That way I can pick it up real quick. Yeah, just bear with me 1 second. I just want to show these other little pictures real quick, so they can equal stand that York has no real idea what he was talking about, and that he was actually relying heavily on the Caucasian, who themselves knew from the beginning they didn't know what, they couldn't detect it because they didn't even have the scientific instruments to see all the way to the atoms if you look at the timeline. So it makes no, you see what I'm saying? That the buffoonery. I'm almost there. I'm just trying to get this this picture real quick. Hold on. Just the ones I took a picture of.
Mm-hmm. Correct?
I think so, yeah. All right, I'm gonna show you another picture. Now this is coming from the same book, page 28.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look, yeah, you got to mute it a little bit. All right. If you look, you can see the same circular model that York is using. In the top left, all right, let me hit present to everyone. Make it a little bigger. So if you see how it has the orbit around it? You see it? Oval shape, circular shape. You see that, right, Ken? Go ahead. You can say something.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, so this is, again, the Caucasian showed you in the video that I showed you that this model was also wrong. Yet, York has this in these books. Now, he claimed he was there, which was here, when they said, let there be light. But how is it that he didn't know that the atom and the way it's composed doesn't have a recognizable shape? Because they saying that they remember that all this is still based on religion, because they were believing the energies were orbiting, only to find out that they don't orbit, that they actually go up and down and they dot around in a place, and that's why they have the probability where they can they have like the nature book say, the law of possibility, and that's basically they can't predict what it's going to do. They only can predict where it may be. But that's why when you look at different videos about the atom and the protons, they always show it dotting around. And like in the video you showed, it had different colors for different things, but they could not pinpoint where it would be, but they did know that it didn't orbit. So for those of y'all who may have a hard time understanding the way they put things, the gist of the video is that they don't know what the atom looks like, and they don't know how the protons and things move around in an orbital certain type of stuff. They don't have that. Let me get this other picture real quick, and then we can close out. Hold on, let me see real quick if I got the picture. 1 second. All right, let me see here. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go right here. Just for more clarity, this is a better picture. All right. You can see that, Ken? All right. You see it, right? You can just shake your head. I can see you.
Oh, you can see me. Okay.
Yeah, I can see you.
All right. No problem. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So again, this is the model right here with the circle. You can see the orbitals. It's more clear. I apologize for the darker other picture. So you can see he has the H1. See atom, hydrogen. You see how he got the drawing?
Oh, the draw. Okay, yeah, the drawing. I thought it was a different picture you were trying to show.
No, I'm gonna show a different one after this, but I just want y'all to see that it has atom and he has it rotating. This is scientifically incorrect. No such thing. And here's another picture with the same orbiting. You see, it's still orbiting. Can y'all see it? Okay, good. All right, I'm gonna just read what it says. This is page 29 of Science of Creation, the revised book. Two nuclei of the H1 atoms of hydrogen combine to form one helium atom having the same amount of electrons but more neutrons. And if you keep going, it says only the electrons combine to complete the outer shell. Again, they don't know what it is. They can't detect it. The number of neutrons remains the same. The atom now has two distinct neutrons, two shared electrons, and two distinct protons. But if you just look at it, the drawing, you can see it's oval shaped and it's rotating. And if you notice in the drawings, you don't see no dots of the energy going from here to there as what the Caucasian was able to actually see. So any Nuwaupian claiming that the atom models that York has used throughout his books is based on a growing science where the Caucasian, you could tell, was making up stuff as he went along. For those who watched the video, go back and watch the video I just played, and you will see they didn't really know what was going on until it got to the 1900s. They started getting better with it. Before, it wasn't that they were making things up. Actually, they got it from the Phoenicians, who got it from us, the Ethiopian Africans. We already knew what this stuff was. So that's why when they started bringing in this information, the same way they did in Rome and Greece, they couldn't tell the people that they got this information from when they went into Alexandria, or what they renamed Alexandria, and took all this information from our ancestors and started putting their names on it. They had to come up with all types of crazy, they had gaps in it. That's why when you study Greece and Roman philosophy, it have gaps. They'll come up and say all of the things that Plato was coming up with, talking about Noots and Zeus, and you had the demiurge and the prime mover and divine mind and all this stuff. And when you really look at it from a point, say, well, how the hell y'all know if y'all got the information way after? And that's how the Caucasian system is set up today. The same thing when it's dealing with the monkey and the evolution, which we're going to touch on that tomorrow, because they can't tell y'all exactly where they got it from. They have to leave gaps and start from a certain point. And so it's confusing. So that's my presentation on this subject right along after the Ken A-Noot, just to show that York did not know what the atom looked like. And again, from doing the research, this is not hate. This is actual facts that York was relying on the model that the Caucasian has now came back and debunked and said that is not real. This is completely wrong. It's not partially right. The atoms and all of the nuclei does not move like that. And I'm done with that, Ken. Anything else you want to add on before we get out of here?
Nah, it's good stuff, man. You know, this we correcting all the wrongs that's been taking place. And like Afroo Oonoo said, Afroo Oonoo didn't draw no model of an atom. He said that he don't know what brain Noots composed of, but he does know that they're composed of male and female forces. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You understand what I'm saying? So he knew it was male and female forces, but he can't tell you what it looked like neither, because guess what? There's no specific model for it.
Right. They can't be detected. Just like if you can't detect atoms in this whole entirety, and he tell you that the brain Noots are the smallest particles of matter, but still can be considered physical, that means no matter how subatomic the Caucasian or mankind's mechanics go, they'll never be to see it. And if he tells you that you can see with them, taste with them, and all of that, that means you need them to even experience what they brought into existence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you know, tonight was awesome, and like you said, it was to the point, and we just want to help people have a better equal standing of knowing that it's okay that, you know, we all been tricked. Get a hold of the nature books. Go to Noopooh.com, NOPONOONE.com, where you can get the Zodiac and the books, or you can go to Find Nine News, which is FINENENEWS.com. You can get the books from over there, and it's other things you can get, creations that we have, and get the books and just start over. And reasonability will grow if you are indeed intelligent. It will help you out in the long run. So tremendous cosmic peace in war times to the Kens and friends of the Ethiopian African race. This is Tar Kenu, the Bladder Noopooh, signing out.
All right, true peace.
True peace.